You taking over the number one chair from the monkey butt down there. Yeah? You gonna bite me? You gonna bite me for slapping your butt? You love it. You love it so much. It's your favorite thing in the world. Yes. Don't you like? Huh? Oh, yeah. Oh, use the teeth. Okay. Gotta do my show. Scoot up. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Houston, No Problem, number 617. Oh, boy. A little evening show here. It might be after dark by the time I finish up. I was doing yard work today, so, you know, had to do a little later one. Reminder, there will be no show tomorrow. I don't think I'll have a chance to do a show. I'm taking my niece out for her birthday lunch, and then I have to work and do all those things. So, yeah, it looks like everybody in the world's trying to go to war with each other at the moment. This guy curled? This guy is curled. That's bothering me. Don't be curled. India and Pakistan, they basically cut off diplomatic relations. They told each other's staff to get the hell out of their country. Military is in high alert. It sounds like brinksmanship all the way. So, yeah, two nuclear powers that really hate each other. And you know, they've had multiple wars at this point, but they haven't had a real war since both of them became nuclear powers. So, like Modi, president of India, he is a genocidal fascist. He wants all 200 plus million Muslims in India to die. He was the governor of the largest pogrom since basically separation. Thousands died over the course of weeks. They're just murdered in the streets by roving gangs. So yeah, it's you know, there's right. Can we just stop all the wars? Lots of missiles and bombs launching back and forth in Ukraine and Russia right now. Kiev might be the largest missile bombardment of Kiev since the beginning of the war. That's going bonkers. Iran and Russia signed a defense pact saying if one is attacked, then the other rushes their defense. Sort of like you better not attack us, America. But if U.S. decides to attack Iran, Russia's not going to do shit about it. They're going to go, oh well. But yeah, the U.S. is a big old contingent lining up in the Indian Ocean, the Red Sea, Persian Gulf, and the Mediterranean, looking to do something. Whether it's attack the Houthies in Yemen more, or because they're blowing up ships in the shipping lanes and they're doing piracy and stuff like that. So there's going to be excuses to do that. But also, it seems like they're kind of rattling that saber towards Iran at the moment, and everyone's just looking for an excuse to pull the trigger on something. It's very frustrating existence. So we got that looking forward to. GameStop went today. Looks like Finger Motion might have something brewing. Finally, it's been 2 years since they were having their little monthly whoop-de-whoops. Fidelity stopped allowing trading on the app. You got to call in and do trades. So essentially a brokerage halt. Anything else? Things were really green yesterday, based upon Treasury Secretary Percent saying, hey, we're going to make a deal with China. Everyone's like, oh, yeah. And then it turns out that was a lie, and then things went, a little bit. But they were again green today off of Tesla's whoop-de-woo of missing earnings by a whole lot, but promising robotaxis, and Elon leaving the government. Elon's like, I'm leaving the government. People are too mean to me. Well, dude, they're going to be mean to you regardless from this point forward. It's not like you retiring from doing the shittiest stuff to our country anyone's done, probably since Civil War. Doesn't mean you're going to get off the hook. Everyone's going to suddenly be like, oh, I'm going to buy a Tesla because the Nazi guy couldn't hack it in government. So I'm going to buy a Tesla now. No, they're not going to support the Nazi guy. Ever. It's just not going to happen. You're going to have a few brochachos that will, and everyone else is going to be like, I don't want to be seen driving that. So, still not going to look good for them, especially quarter two. It's going to be real bad. So, I mean, if it wasn't for selling carbon credits for about $600 million, $595 million worth of carbon credits, they would have posted a loss this quarter. And who wants to get rid of carbon credits? Donald Trump. That's right. He's going to get rid of carbon credits. So what then? Now you make a whole bunch of cars that you can't sell, and you want to have the carbon credits to sell to other companies to subsidize it. So, Mike, but everything to add? I don't know. You guys will fire things my way when it comes time. Still not dark outside yet, so we will do this. We haven't done this one in a while. I haven't been doing the Alexander K's intros recently because even though we have a license for the music, someone keeps doing a copyright thing on it. It's a pain in the ass, but I'm going to try it anyway. Hopefully we'll get dinged. Maybe if I just talk a lot through this, it won't be probably it'll be like a remix, right? If I just keep talking, making noise. I go. That work? Okay, turn it off. Turn it off. All right. Before I get to the top of the chat, looks like Bill Coyne super chatted. Gamers Nexus did a 2.5-hour investigation video on the effect of tariffs on the computer companies. Oh, must watch. We are fudged. Yeah, I mean, Intel chips are made here. I think AMD chips are where are AMD chips made? I know it's an American company, but do they make them here? Or do they make them over like in Taiwan? Where are AMD chips manufactured? Taiwan. So they're manufactured by TSMC in Taiwan. So, okay. So Intel chips are made here. AMD chips are made in Taiwan. So all of a sudden the cheap chips might not be as cheap as the expensive chips because the expensive chips are made here. Interesting. All right. Huh. Well, there you go. Well, there you go. Okay. Excuse me. I just had some fried chicken. I'm a little hiccupy at the moment. NickTube, my first. Good job. Ferris F, second. Darren Saunders, my first, second. No, you missed it. Ferris F, how likely World War III start this weekend? I mean, it's kind of already started if you think about it, right? We've got multiple belligerents happening in Ukraine. So we got North Koreans, possible Chinese in Ukraine fighting with Russians against Ukrainians. There's talk of the rest of the world, not the United States, but Europe basically putting troops in, fighting this thing themselves, or upping the game because they see what a threat Russia is for further westward progression. And then you got little proxy battles already happening in like Burkina Faso and Chad and Niger, where Ukrainian special forces and up until recently American special forces were working with various either militaries or paramilitaries to defeat Russian-backed groups. It's already seeming like it's sort of a world war kind of happening. I have the feeling, though, that if war breaks out, the United States will be torn because the officers in the military, they'll want to be with the NATO folks, and the leadership of the U.S. government will want to be with the axis of evil. They'll see North Korea, Russia as sort of their bros in this, which would be weird because Iran is aligned with them and China's aligned with them. So it's going to be like a Mexican standoff at this point. I don't know what's going to happen. But, it's a non-zero chance that war breaks out in India and Pakistan right now. Hopefully diplomatic efforts can smooth things over. Normally the United States would step in and be like, hey, let's help broker something here. But we have a bunch of incompetent dorks who won't do that stuff. And we fired all the career diplomats who could do those, broker those exchanges. So, yeah. Dr. G78, hey H-Man, are you a fan of David Lynch, specifically Twin Peaks? Just learned it was filmed in Snoqualmie, Washington. Ever been there? Thanks, looking forward to the next rant. Yes, I've been to Snoqualmie lots of times. My two best friends are currently building a house there. So my best friend from childhood married my best friend from college. And yeah, so it's gives her a little bit longer commute, but it's on the property she grew up on. So her house is right near the Snoqualmie River, and it floods a lot. Like every 5 years, they basically had to like rebuild the house. So her childhood home was rotted and destroyed. Her parents had retired and moved to Arizona, and she received the property from them because they're like, we're out. And they rented it for a little while to people, but the house was just too meh. So they're selling their house in Seattle, and they built one on that new one on that property. It's up on stilts. It's sort of designed like a forest lookout. It's on stilts, so the floodwaters can come in and out and won't bother them. So they've been there. Also in Twin Peaks, my friend's daughter was in the second season. So there you go, Priya Niehaus. She played a kid in the second season for a couple episodes, so she was in there. I like David Lynch. Sometimes David Lynch things, I watch it, I'm like, I did not see a moral here. I remember watching Mulholland Drive and being like, well, that was a thing. He goes to Snoqualmie, go to North Bend, look up at the mountains. They filmed it in Snoqualmie, but they pretended like they were on the ocean. They're not. They're up in the foothills of the Cascades. And they also filmed Northern Exposure, not too far from there, in Roslyn. So, and at that time, there were two major productions going on in Seattle for TV shows. Roslyn, Washington was pretending to be a town in Alaska. And Roslyn's a cool little town. It's an old coal mining town from back in the day. And the only reason to go there now is if traffic stopped and you stop off at the Brick and get a burger. But yeah, cool, quaint little town. Head on over there. Colin, puts on the menu? Perhaps. Let's see what the futures trading numbers are doing here. Futures are slightly down. Not much. We're at minus 90 right now. I will look in the morning to decide, because I've been playing SPYs ups and downs, basically based upon what the future's looking at like before I go to bed. If they're up or down a couple hundred points, it gives me an idea of what the day's going to be like. And at least for the first hour, it trades that way, so I can benefit. If I hold on too long, which I've done the past couple of days, then it erases my gains, and I should just learn that an hour in the market, just sell. Whatever it is, just get out and accept the $1,000 you made, rather than be like, oh, maybe I can make it to 2. So, looks like Euro stocks are all up. Japan is not. Japan is currently hurting. The yen carry trades, those have a real possibility of blowing up here in a day or two. The bond traders, they're underwater big time because no one wants U.S. treasuries and they can't find any buyers. And there's a lot of folks that need to sell right now, especially folks in those Japanese carry trades, because Japanese yen is getting a lot stronger against the dollar. What's it doing right now? It's below 140. Yen to USD. Oops, other way around. I want to do USD to yen. The USD to yen. 142. Okay, so they got a little reprieve. It's at 142 right now. It was below 140 there on Monday. It went below, but now we're at 142, which is like still kind of on the precipice of bad news for everybody. Yeah, you don't want that. So we'll see if they can hold it off. I'm not quite sure. Frozen Productions. Why do influencers? Is that influencers? Billionaires, business people think Elon is so smart, a genius. He didn't create a small Tesla for Europe or Asia. Yeah. Because he's rich. People oftentimes equate wealth with being a genius. Hey, you're wealthy. Obviously, you're a genius. More often than not, wealthy people either inherited it or they have a cluster B personality disorder. And it's not so much that they're a genius, it's that they will do anything and stomp on anyone to ensure they get that dollar. So, you know, there are people who created things, invented things, who've done very well, right? There are people who are very smart, they know how to manage money, but most people who are filthy, filthy rich, they were already born into money. Elon's dad owned the largest engineering firm in Africa and grew up in the largest house in Pretoria. Like, people talk about the emerald mine. The emerald mine was just a little side deal that they were doing. He had a huge engineering firm. Rolls Royces, kids went to private school. He grew up rich, and his dad was the angel investor in Zip2, his first startup. He then sold for millions and started another startup, X, right? And then that got bought by PayPal, and so on. Mark Zuckerberg's dad, not filthy rich, but wealthy enough that he invested $125,000 into Mark's company. And now Mark's dad's also a billionaire as a result. So, you know, not everyone has family who can invest six figures into a business that they make, right? Jeff Bezos' dad invested $300,000 so Amazon could start up. Bill Gates' dad owned the largest law firm in the United States, was already worth tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars at that point. His mom was on the board at United Way with the CEO of IBM, and she brokered the deal to sell DOS to IBM. But Bill Gates did not write IBM. He got $50,000 from his dad to buy DOS from the person who did write it and just slapped Windows on it. So, like, you know, you do benefit a lot by having rich parents. So, like, if Bill Gates was born poor, he would not have gone to Lakeside, very rich private school. He would not have gotten into Harvard, a very rich private school. He would not have had the opportunity to drop out of Harvard and start his company with dad's money and mom's connections. So yeah, there's something to be said about folks who are born to that kind of wealth. Elon was born into it. Elon is a shit programmer. He's really bad at programming. He's not a specialist at it. He's as good a programmer as he is a gamer at this point. He talks a big game, but probably not much better at programming than I am, and I'm terrible. But he's a great liar, absolutely fantastic liar. He never finished college. He went to school for a while in Canada, then he went down to Penn and didn't finish there. He dropped out, did not receive a conferred degree. Sold a startup on the story that he was accepted to Stanford for a PhD, went for one day and then was like, not for me, I'm going to do my startup. And he never got accepted to Stanford, never applied to Stanford. He was never a grad student at Stanford. But that lore that he put out there, everyone's like, oh, he's a Stanford PhD with degrees in like physics and engineering. He never had a physics degree or an engineering degree. He rode that into the Sand Hill financing realm of these venture capitalist dudes and got money. He was at the right time. You know, startups were hot in the mid to late 90s. Money was going everywhere. You could have a startup, you know, there was like mylackey.com, which was sort of like DoorDash or Uber, but they paid you even less. And you would just be like, hey, I need a lackey to like mow my lawn. And someone would just show up and mow your lawn for $7 an hour. You would get money for that. Right? So the startups were huge. And they bought his little payment system, which didn't work. There were basically two payment systems. The one that PayPal was born out of worked, but they didn't want the competition, so they smushed them together. Elon lied about how competent he was, so they made him CEO. And then within a few short months, they realized this guy cannot hack it. He's not good at this. He's destroying the website. He has no business plan. He wants to change their name from PayPal, which people are using as a verb. I'm gonna PayPal that to you, right? Which is the holy grail of a startup in the 90s, early 2000s. And he wanted to call it X, and everyone's like, they're gonna think porn, dude. No. So they fired him and gave him a $100 million golden parachute. Wisely, he invested that money into Tesla, which he did not start. Tesla. Somebody else started. Somebody else had the vision for Tesla. The original vision for Tesla was, we're going to release this Roadster. It's going to be a fancy car. It's really fast. People want to drive it. We're going to use the capital from those sales to make a cheap, affordable electric car for the people. That was basically the original mission statement for Tesla. Elon, I guess, was bored, and he ended up doing a hostile takeover of the company and firing the founders, and then declared himself the founder. There was a lawsuit that happened, and I'm sure he'd end up paying off the actual founders a whole bunch because it was settled for an undisclosed amount. Everything was sealed, and then he keeps calling himself the founder of Tesla. But Tesla, Tesla's real start came from several $100 million in government grants from the federal government, from the Obama administration. That's what saved Tesla. And then, tax credits for cars. It's just he's wholly dependent upon government contracts, government subsidies, government bailouts, government tax breaks, etc. And for some way, he became this cult of personality in the last few years, and they attribute a substantial amount of wealth onto that company compared to what their sales are. Like, they're a decent sized car company. They sell a lot of cars. I'll give them that. But they don't sell more cars than GM. They don't sell more cars than Ford. They don't sell more cars than Toyota. But those companies are worth, combined, not even close to what Tesla is worth. And people will be like, Tesla's not a car company. They're so much more than that. Okay, they sell a few wall banks. They sell a few solar panels. And they're making a robot that looks to be a pretty dumpy robot. And they keep promising robotaxis and a new roadster and blah, blah, blah. But, like, I just wonder how long it's going to be on not being able to deliver on promises before even the most diehard Elon stands, just go, he's been lying to us the whole time. Because he is putting out stuff saying, oh yeah, the robotaxi's almost ready. It's not. Like, it was revealed in an article today that the robotaxi has somebody at a computer screen doing the driving. That is not fully self-driving. That's just a taxi cab driver in front of a computer screen. So what then? I always kind of wish that Silicon Valley had gone for like one more season, because that show is brilliant. And there'd be an episode where like Houthies is making self-driving cars. It turns out it's just a bunch of dudes in Bangladesh on like joysticks driving people around. That would have been just a good bit to have. Anyway, anywho, yeah. But yeah, it didn't create a small Tesla for Europe or Asia, which is like, you want to sell cars in Japan? Make it be a little guy, a little K car, right? You want to sell cars in half of Western Europe, which have tiny little medieval streets, make it a bitty little city hopper. That's all you need to do. It's cheap. You sell it for $12,000. It fits two people. Done. But no. Big luxury cars. The Chinese are okay with big luxury cars. A lot of their cities are connected by huge new highways, and they can deal with that. The Aussies can deal with that. The Canadians can deal with that. The Mexicans can deal with that. But Europe? Nope. Japan? Nope. Taiwan? No. I don't know what he's thinking. I don't know. Seems like a really easy thing to engineer, too. Frozen Productions. Love David's work. I was wearing a Lynch Twin Peaks shirt today. Excellent. Sis 54. Good while it lasted. Living from once in a lifetime to every type of lifetime event. The world's nuts and it's about to bust. Hold your ankles and close your eyes. Kiss your ass goodbye. Yeah. Yeah. Just like, I'm actually wondering if, like, as I'm talking, if shots have gone back and forth to India and Pakistan. All right. Tensions over Kashmir again. Blah, blah, blah. Conflict scenarios. That's 2 days ago. Let's look at the news here. The newest I got is from 5 hours ago. Terrorist attacks, disputed territory, 2019, brought India and Pakistan verge war, blah, blah, blah. Kashmir, I've always wanted to go to Kashmir. I've heard it's basically the most beautiful place on earth. It's Muslim dominated, but controlled by India and in dispute by everybody. Militants in Kashmir killed 26 tourists and injured many others on Tuesday. The worst assault on civilians in the Indian administered territory in years, which India has called a terrorist attack. The groups for responsibility, blah, blah, blah. But my guess is that, you know, they're going to blame Pakistan for that. That's not going to be very up to date. Locked in stalemate. Yeah. The Indian government under Modi basically cut off Kashmir from the outside world. Shut down all telecommunications, all cell towers. So for a good chunk of time, it might still be kind of shut down from communication. But there's been lots of violent unrest because the ruler of Kashmir, you know, it's basically like a royal family that's kind of ruled over Kashmir, and he's the governor-ish now, is a Hindu. But most of the citizens are Muslim, which that already right there is going to make for quite the squabble, especially for two nations that went through partition, a really, really violent, horrible partition. And it'd be like, you know, trying to think of a good example here, because I'm trying to think of like a country that's fairly split. It'd be like the United States splits in half, right? And 50% of the population is pro-Trump, and 50% of the population is against Trump. And half the country in one side is told to leave and go to the other side. That you forfeit all your property, you forfeit all your land, get the hell out. And the vice versa happens on the other side. And so you have like 150 million people on each side crossing, right? Not only are they just crossing, but they're passing by each other and they hate each other's guts. Maybe leave everything I know and love. Now I've got to go to this other side of the country. I don't know anyone there. I don't have a job. I don't have shit. And you're seeing all these other people walking the other way. And the violence during partition was gnarly. There was that only modern depiction other than in Western culture, other than the movie Gandhi, which came out 40 something years ago, is Miss Marvel on Disney. They talk a lot about the violence during partition of the Muslims leaving India and the Hindus leaving Pakistan, and just the horribleness that happened as the frustration boiled over and these people just killed each other with, you know, like hammers and sticks and stuff because they didn't have anything else. And so they've just been hating each other's guts ever since. And it's just religious sectarian silliness. That's what it is. And even then, India to this day is the second largest Muslim country in the world. They still have over 200 million Muslims there, even after partition. So it's icky. I don't know what the solution is going to be at all. Yeah, I just don't know, but people are probably going to die. Since before, India and Pakistan both have nuclear weapons. What are the chances we see one, if any, go off? How does the rest of the world respond? U.S. has no leader able to stop it. China disliked by both. So EU? Oh yeah, China and India hate each other's guts. They have their own problems where they're fighting over parts of the Himalayas that you know China claims and then India also claims, and they have a weird ceasefire agreement in that stalemate where they aren't allowed to use weapons. So you'll see funny videos where like one side will attack the other with sticks, and then they whack each other with sticks, and then they'll all separate and like define a new line along that border. If only all wars could be fought with whacking each other with sticks at this point. But yeah, I don't know who could broker a deal. Maybe EU? Someone from the EU could come in there. But the US can't do it. We fired everyone. Canadians, maybe? I don't know. I don't know. It seems like kind of uncharted territory here. For Jones, I'll get it right this time. Tariffs still on the menu. Trumpy says, I did not say that. I'm not lowering anything. China, call me, please. Meanwhile, RC still on couch, drinking a lot and crying. Just pull the trigger, man. It's like all you got to do. Just bink. Pull that trigger. Make an announcement. Force everyone in the markets to do something about it. That's all you got to do. And Frozen Productions, on the shores of Lake Superior, where are the best places to pan, search for gold, and how dangerous is it? Duluth is less than 2 hours from me. I don't know much about gold on the shores of Lake Michigan. I know about like Lake Superior agates on the shores of Lake Michigan. I know that there's lots of gold that must flow in there because there's gold regions, especially on the Creighton on the Canadian side. And there's also silver, I believe, in the Minnesota side. There's old silver mines up there. There's lots of copper in Michigan. So, and some gold too in Upper Peninsula. I would just look for sandy beaches. So go to where there's a sandy beach along Lake Superior, because there's a couple of them, right? Let's see if we can just look at some stuff on ye old Google Earth here, because I love me some Google Earth. Oh, there we go. Where am I? Oh, I'm in California. That's right. We're looking at the San Andreas Fault there. So let's leave San Andreas. Let's look up here, Lake Superior. So you're gonna want the American side, because you'll need special permits and have to be a Canadian resident to do any panning on the Canadian side. So I think a lot of this on this side is pretty rocky. So there's not much in the way of beaches here. You can see there's like tiny little pockets, little spit like this. If there is gold coming out of the older ancient rock here, you're going to look at a sandbar like this. So, oh crap, there we go. So, oh shit, where'd that sandbar just go that I was looking at? Dang it, sandbar. Where'd you go? I just had you, and now... Oh, here we go. Is this it? Is that sandbar? No, this is the sandbar there. Okay, so this is Beaver Bay. You ready to get your beaver on? You're going to look at a mouth of a river like this. And you're going to look along the sandy shores of that river, of like this little spit coming off here, and you're going to look for any stretches where there happens to be black sand. I can't really tell in this image. And you can test that stuff. You also go into the river itself. This might be an image of that river. Here we go. There we go. So we've got some waterfalls here. These things are churning, right? In the summertime, the water is going to be lower. Great spots to look for gold on rivers like this, is directly where the turbidity of the waterfall drops. So like right in here. So when the flow's low, you can probably go to this terminus of the waterfall and look or suck up gold in this area. You also want where the boulders are. There's a low pressure point on the upstream side and a low pressure point on the downstream side. So as the water flows around the boulder, it flows faster to the sides. So the gold will get churned up and flow down river. But the minute that the pressure gets low on the backside of that rock, where there'll be a little eddy, the gold will immediately just drop and sink. And so you'll get gold building up underneath the rock, on the front side of the rock, and on the back side of the rock. The other spot you want to look, if I go back to Google Earth here, so we got lots of little waterfalls and stuff here, is you're going to want to look at bends. So this is like, you can see this cut and wash here. So the water flows around this guy, and there's a high pressure on the cut side where it's cutting out. There's a low pressure on the inside of that. So you look for sandbars or rocks on the inside of this bend, and flip those over and look for gold in them. There's a lot of bedrock here. You can see all the bedrock that's exposed. So another thing you can do is snipe. So you can go with like a really long flathead screwdriver, or even like some sort of suction machine. You can get little suction gold suckers, and you look for the cracks. So you can see that there's cracks along this, and you just basically pick all the dirt out of the cracks, and that also acts like a natural riffle. So when water flows over it, it's a low pressure point, and the gold will drop out and collect inside those cracks. So you can snipe for those. And then any micron gold that gets out will end up piling up on this beach, and they get concentrated by the winter wave action. And so you look for strips of black sand. That's the heavy sand. It's full of magnetite. And inside that sand, you'll get gold, you'll get magnetite, you'll get like heavier gemstones, like little micron garnets and rubies and sapphires and stuff. So look for that stuff. For the most part, you're gonna have to look for to do any beach mining. You have to look for the sandy stuff and look for where there is black sand, and then pan that out. I'm not sure how many public beaches there are. I have no idea. I've only been through this area once, and that was in 2009. I didn't have much of a chance to stop off much. I did stop off in Duluth, which I'll be honest, Duluth was surprisingly one of the most beautiful cities I've ever been in. I was not expecting that. It's a quaint little town, and also I think the stadium's named after me. It's called like Wade Arena or something. But this little road, driving into Duluth, the homes along here were just amazing. Absolutely spectacular homes along here. Why are you not updating? Come on, Duluth. Update for me. Update for me. I have to close you and start again? Probably. Let's get it. Hey, fat cat. What's up, dude? If I let you out, you're going to turn around and then claw on the door to ask to come back in. So that's what's going to happen. All right, let's get back to Duluth. All right. Duluth's right at the little junction here. Yeah, the homes along this drive here are absolutely spectacular. Just amazing little mansions, and look at this guy. They're beautiful. I have no idea about the history of them. I wish I could have had more time. I could have stopped off and like toured some of them, but they were really cool. And then downtown Duluth, you pass right through. It's this quaint little downtown, and it's beautiful. I mean, I'm not sure what it's like. I'm sure it's hell in the wintertime, but in August, it's spectacular. I would totally go back to Duluth in the summertime. But yeah, they got this cool port. They got, it's a cool little place. I totally liked it. I probably would hate it in January, but yeah. But if you can't find gold, at least find Lake Superior agates. Lake Superior agates are really cool. They're agates that form under the ice flows, so the lake freezes over, right? And then there's still wave action, so the ice just grinds back and forth, and it's really shallow. Lake Superior is really shallow. It's basically like, I think the average is about 30 feet depth across the entire thing. And so the ice builds up, and it can sometimes touch the bottom of the lake. And as the ice shifts back and forth, it grinds everything into a really fine silt. And there can be little pockets that form, and the silica that gets ground off the rocks ends up collecting in those pockets and layers over time, over winter after winter, and then it builds up these layers of quartz, and then eventually something happens, and that quartz that gets built up gets tumbled, and then ends up on the beaches through wave action, and you get these really cool banded quartzes. They're neat. If I could pull one up here, nope, not that one. There we go. Lake Superior agate. Images. Boom. Gotta go there, and I have to tell it to, oh, it's up. Okay, sweet. So these are the Lake Superior agates. They're beautiful. Like, look at these guys. This is what happens from those ice going back and forth and grinding. Absolutely spectacular. Some of the coolest looking agates out there. You get these really fiery ones, and then however they wear, because they turn into rocks, and then they get worn down on one side or the other, so they can make some really cool designs as they get worn down. You can cut and polish them and do all stuff with them. So this is one on Etsy that's for sale, but they're cool. I mean, it's a 2-carat rock, and this lady's selling it for $40. Why not, right? Go find those on the beach. So get it. Oh, fire! I didn't turn off the other one. All right, Cat, you go outside. Pretty cool. Fine. All right. I forgot to turn off yesterday's. So let's turn it off. Off. Take a sip of water. Calm your tits. Okay. Fred Jones, Hegseth has been rumored to be seen sitting with RC, drinking a lot more, and also crying a lot more. At one point, he could be heard saying, "Moass, Moass, some more ass, Moass." First impressions. I hear Miami is a ghost town. You can get reservations at any restaurant. Last week, the Hoover Dam, I heard 7 different languages spoken among the dam's visitors, European and Asian. Huh. Well, I mean, maybe they're still going to Vegas. I think there's going to be an even bigger drop off of tourism as time goes on, because I think the people that are coming were like, well, I already paid for it, so let's just get this over with. But there's not going to be new reservations and new flights made. So what's coming is stuff that's already paid for, which means, conventions are going to have way less attendance, especially industry conventions. You're just not going to see folks. Like, you might have a convention of dentists from all over the world, right, to come share things. Well, just be the Americans that show up. The rest of the world's gonna be like, I don't need your American hotels, man, or chancing being put into a ice holding facility for no reason because I can't explain the address of the hotel I'm going to, whatever. So yeah, there's gonna be that, and yeah, the best. If India and Pakistan go to war, will mainland China capitalize on this and take speed to land along the Indian border? Probably. I mean, they probably have all sorts of plans. They're like waiting for that. Geminius, Houston. If you haven't seen it, check out the India-Pakistan war update from The Onion. It's definitely an older video, but it's relevant today as it was 16 years ago. That's a Man on the Street one from 2002. Is it the India-Pakistan tensions mount at local Amoco? All right, videos. Volatile India-Pakistan standoff in 11,680th day. Said that one. That's funny. It's a good headline right there. I miss the Onion News Network, and I hope that Tim Onion brings it back. Oh, it's reset of the chat. Come on, man. Quit resetting on me. Mr. Machine, what is Kamala doing these days? Just enjoying life? It sounds like she might throw her hat into the ring to run for governor of California. So, that she could be doing that. If I was her, I'd just be like getting massages or something. And just another massage. Another one. One more time. And just... Or if you go on an I Told You So tour. That is something also... Like, I'd be that petty. It would hurt chances for any future elections or whatever. But just going around the country and being like, I fucking told you so. Just what feels cathartic, right? I told you so. 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 And you can do that. Go to Michigan. Just go to like Ann Arbor and just walk through the neighborhoods going, I fucking told you so. I told you so. And just live off of that. And for State Productions, did you know Pierre Trudeau was a pedophile who was into throwaway kids, was associated with David Rockefeller, who was also a pedophile? What effect did that have on Justin Trudeau's leadership? I have not read anything like that. So I did not know. But if that's true, I'm sure it had a big effect. I am not seeing anything pop up anywhere in that. I just searched the name and the P word. So yeah, I don't know. I've not heard anything about that. I don't know. Infostate Productions, Happy Birthday, Houston. You love reading. Try Whitney Webb's One Nation Under Blackmail. Canadian crime families were pioneers of sexual kiddie blackmail. That's how easy it is. Well, I mean, just look at any native school in the world. It happened here in the U.S. It happened in Australia. It happened in Africa. It happened in Canada. Right? First Nation schools in Canada were basically, you send your kids there to have religious weirdos sexually assault them, and then possibly neglect them to death or killing them, and then burying them in unmarked mass graves. Just brutality. I mean, like, when I go to the coast and go beach mining, so we bring up the map again. Google Earth, boom. That's Google Earth. If I go to the coast out here in Washington coast, usually I go to like Ocean Shores. It's easy, it's the quickest place for me to get to. So I go to Ocean Shores State Park and Oya Hut in here, and there's lots of retirees, lots of little retirement communities and summer homes and stuff along here. It's you're on the beach. Sure, it's cold as hell and it's windy and whatever half the year, but you're on the beach and it's cheap property and you can retire here. I will go and mine. So, pop out. Where would I be? Right here, this state park. So go basically to where the streams pop out, and I use that fresh water for my sluice, and you go to the black sands and you mine the sands. Well, if you are a retired person, you leave your house and you go for a walk on the beach every day. And if you see anyone that you don't recognize, you stop and you talk at them ad nauseum. Forever, right? I need to actually move this so you guys can, whoops, wrong one. Google Earth, there we go. Nope, wrong one, I don't want to move that. Google Earth. Google Earth. God, quit moving that one. Google Earth. How do I make it so you guys can see? I want this white thing to go away. Okay, anyway. They go, oh, what you doing there? Are you gold mining? And you say, yeah, I'm gold mining. Oh, well, find anything yet? I'm like, well, I have no idea because I haven't actually done the concentrating part yet. Well, my grandfather was a gold miner. Every single old guy will walk by and tell you that their grandfather was a gold miner. I don't have the heart to be like, buddy, everyone's grandfather was a gold miner. That's how the West was settled. But no one ever talks to me about how their grandmother worked in a brothel, because that was how women moved west. The men mined gold and the women worked in brothels, and then eventually one of the brothel people got knocked up and just married the first miner that they saw. The kid could be theirs, the kid might not be theirs, who knows? So like, yeah, sex trade settled the continent basically. I mean, got places like Pioche. Let's see here. Pioche, Nevada. Boop. Boop. Seriously, I want this stupid Google Earth thing. I want you. All right, whatever. Get the white thing out of the way. So Pioche was a gold, lead mining town. Incredibly violent. One of the most violent places on Earth when the mines were first opened here. It was a ghost town for a while. It's got a little revival because a couple of the mines reopened. There's a couple thousand people living here now. But back in the day, there were 35 brothels, 70 saloons, and like 100 houses for 6,000 people. So 100 houses does not house 6,000 people. What would happen is that you are a young man. You're working in the mines. You get paid, I don't know, $1 a day, right? You leave the mine, you go to the saloon. For a nickel, you get yourself a drink. For another nickel, you get yourself a sandwich or a meat pie or whatever, and you eat that. And then for another nickel, you go to the local prostitute, and rather than staying in a boarding house or having to pay for a home, you just sleep with a prostitute all night long, and that's your bed. And then she sleeps with another guy from the day shift or whatever. And you just sort of swap back and forth, and that's how you do it. And eventually, one of those prostitutes gets knocked up, and boom, got yourself a wife once she's knocked up, because you got to make an honest woman over, right? And that's where your grandmothers came from, or most of the people here, it's where your great grandmothers came from. Maybe even your great great grandmothers. But regardless, all your grandmas were prostitutes, and all of your dads were gold miners, and that's how the West was won. But Pioche itself, there were 76 murders before the first natural death in that town. 76 murders before the first natural death. That is how violent that place was. Absolute carnage. Fat guy. Why are you yelling at me? Come on, man. If I open that door and send you outside, you're just going to yell at me again. So, yeah, go up there. Go up there and chill, baby. Chill. Do. Okay. Michael Hum, 17th. Blizzy Blaze, greetings from Houston. Hello, Blizzy Blaze, greetings from Houston. Get that? Fred Jones, Kamala was last seen at the beach with family and was rumored to be mumbling Moas. Arya Shadow, Death of Affordable Computing, Tariffs, Impact, and Investigation. Is that the name of the show that Bill Coyne was talking about from Gamers Nexus? Word. Is the Gamers Nexus investigation. Answered at the next post. Will Marcusen, hello. True Seeker, hello. Aaron Saltine. So, Houston, you think we'll have a May run like last year? When are the swaps expiring for May date? I think the swaps are set to expire for the end of the month, right? That's what they were doing last year. It was like May 30th. But there was a huge run-up before then, I think, largely instituted by the options play from Roaring Kitty. The options numbers, let's look at them again. Let's look at GME options chain. Boom. Boom. Where? Oh yeah, dates. It's May 16th. Those are the monthlies. It's building up still. We're at 22,000 at 30, 13,000 at 32. So it's still building. Nothing quite like last year where we were at, 120,000 at $12 when the stock was at 10. But we're starting from a higher floor this time. Remember, we started at $12, $10 in April. And we got up to 85 after hours in May. So the floor is more than twice as high this time around, sitting at $27. So in these 30s and 31s, these are cheap. They're a buck and they're still a month out. Like that's cheap. And volatility is still really low. Still well below 100%. The week of May 17th last year, the volatility was at 600, 1,000%, because it was volatile, just flying. So yeah, at some point, first week of May or so, second week of May, I'm going to have to consolidate and load up on my options. I haven't done it yet, but I will. I've been playing the SPY because the SPY has been so volatile recently. But these suckers are looking real good right now at this price. We still got a good chunk. There's 5,000 of them at $23 are in the money. But yeah, the next step would be the yearlies, the leaps in June, these June 20ths. And not huge numbers yet. There's a bunch at 35. Seriously, there's like nothing reporting at these other levels? That's weird. Okay, all right, whatever. But if it's like last year, Roaring Kitty profits from all those suckers, goes in again in June and gets more shares or more options. We'll see if he does it again. If he's that predictable, I have no idea. We only have the one data point from last year to go on. So it seemed to be pretty successful on his part until the dilution happened. You were a billionaire. He's probably sold so many cover calls since then he might be a billionaire now at this point. Sheep duck and cow you well. CC's Ghost, True Seeker, says hello. Aaron Saltine, finger looks like it wants to fly up another 22% today. It might. I know Julio is like, buy some. I didn't really have much cash to throw at it at the moment. So just don't go crazy tomorrow. And then maybe I'll have more. Onirios, Houston. What are your thoughts on the GME thumps after hours? Had another one today. Weird stuff. Like yesterday, it had a thump above $30. I'm not sure what the thump was today, but probably something similar. It did it on, was it Friday as well? After close, it did a big old jump from like 26 to 28 something. Just like a weird spike right after hours. I don't know. I honestly don't know. It glitch better have my money. That's all I'm saying. Bitcoin. More than the tariffs, it's the uncertainty, unpredictability, constant changes that is stopping companies from ordering new inventory overseas. Wait 2 months for the shockwaves. Well, the shockwaves are going to be bad. 60% fewer ships are coming into the port of Los Angeles and Long Beach. 60% fewer ships. This translates to empty shelves by summer. So not only will we have tariffs increasing the price of things, we'll start to have price gouging as well due to scarcity. And without a Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, there'll be no one to do anything about price gouging at that point. So, yeah, it's going to get ugly. Like, I hope you got all the things you need now. Hope you got your microwave, your dryer, your washer, your, I don't know what other big heavy appliances you need. I'm glad I bought a computer back in November rather than waiting till later. So get what you need now and be happy with that. Okay? Okay? Okay. KCB, Houston. I'm leaving Hawaii. What fun facts can you say about hurricanes? Locals, the last one hit was Kauai 92. They die for another one? Due for another one? Do all houses just fail when big one comes? Well, the last major hurricane was Kauai in 92. While I was in Hilo, we got hit with some little category 1s. And then the stronger category 2, 3 hit Puna in August of 2014. What was that one called? Puna Hurricane 2014. What's that thing called? That one was... Wait, not... Iselle. Yes, Iselle. That was who hit. August 8th, 2014. And that did a lot of damage in Lower Puna. So if we look at the islands here, Google Earth. A lot of Google Earth questions in the evening here. So let's leave Nevada. Get out of here, Nevada. We got to go across the ocean. Got to go to Hawaii. There we go. Go down to Hawaii. So Puna is basically this area here. So north of Volcano, south of Hilo, this is Puna. And we talked about Puna in the past. We talked about like the East Rift Zone that went through like Leilani Estates and other places that were just basically they filled in the volcano, the rift, and just built houses on top of it, and the volcano ripped open and burned everything to the ground. But anyway, this area is there's some really nice houses on the beach. And there's a lot of hippies, there's a lot of poor people, and there's a lot of old people. Because the land was really cheap, because it's really far away from services. You don't have water, and for a long time, for most places, there wasn't electricity. So the land was cheap, and people bought the land, and they made do with what they got. It's also in volcanic hazard zones, etc. But the Hurricane Iselle came on. It was a pretty giant hurricane, but what happens due to the shape of the islands here is, you know, on one side you have the Northern Pacific, which is cold. And on the other side, you got the Southern Pacific, which is very warm, right? And these winds come from the high pressure systems over California. They blow constantly, 10, 12 miles an hour all day, every day. And it blows all the warm water sort of the south to the southwest and all of the cold water upwells. So if a storm breaks and heads north, it dies pretty quickly because this water is a lot colder than the water south of Hawaii. Iniki, which was the one that battered Kauai in 1992, what happened with it is it went south of the islands, which normally goes south of the islands, it just keeps going. And it goes and it goes and it goes and it goes. Then it breaks north and we'll head back. And then we'll hit like the Pacific Northwest is a post-tropical cyclone like 2 months later. But it hit this warm water and spun and just smashed into Kauai with 200-mile-an-hour sustained winds. There's actually beaches on the Big Island, on the south side of the Big Island, that are gone and have been gone for 30 years. There's beautiful sand beaches, and the waves were so huge, they just stripped all the sand off, and it never came back. So there was like, you know, little tourist beaches and stuff down here that are not tourist beaches anymore. The homes in Hawaii are not designed for these types of events. They don't have tie downs in the roof, right? So the roofs are just sort of like tacked on with some nails. They're very steep incline roofs because it rains a lot, so you want the water to rush off. And if you close all your doors and windows, right? And you have a big low pressure system coming. When that wind blows, it creates a little Bernoulli effect on the roof and can pull on the roof, and the high pressure inside the house will pop the roof off. So if you're getting hurt with a hurricane, you want to make sure there's tie downs. You want to make sure that you have like a windows and doors open, even just a crack for the air pressure to equalize. But basically, yeah, just rip the roofs right off. And all right, Cat, I'll let you out. I'm talking about Hawaii here, but here you are, just meowing. Get the hell out. That's right. No one wants to look at you anyway. So anyway, on the Hilo side, down here, these guys, the Impuna, this was all a lot of lava rock, not very much jungle. For some reason, they're like, oh, we have an idea, albizia trees. The albizia trees are native to Africa, in the equatorial Africa, so they don't deal with wind very often. And they from helicopters, they dropped albizia seeds all over the place here. So albizia is everywhere. They make these like pretty orange flowers and stuff. But a wind comes along, they uproot and they smash. So that storm just smashed things like crazy. My friend Ahia, which like 3-4 years ago, you guys got to meet Ahia on the show when I was visiting friends there. Her house survived the hurricane. She actually made sure there was tie downs when it was on its way, and her then baby basically sat in the bathtub with a mattress over them, screaming for 10 hours as the winds whipped everything and they're hearing things crash and smash. Her neighbor, as she's like tying everything down and making sure everything's ready for the hurricane, her neighbor's like, "What you doing?" And she's like, "Hurricane's coming." Hurricane's don't hit here, we're fine. And she's like, "Well, I'm just, double checking, making sure it's fine." And he didn't do anything to protect his property. And she said that while she was in the bathtub, like crying because it felt like the whole world was ending, she had this moment, like Star Wars moment, where like 1,000 souls were snuffed out at once, and she just heard this chorus of blood-curdling screams. And the next morning, she realized what it was. It was that neighbor. He had a whole bunch of fighting hens and cocks in his yard, and they have these little tents, tents, and they'll stake in the ground. The chickens stake to that thing, and they can move like 5 feet in any direction, but then they got their little tent they can stay under. He had like 100 of them staked in his yard like that. And at some point in the night, hurricane's raging, these birds are like blowing around, being caught in their little peg stakes in the ground. His kid's trampoline got picked up by the wind, blown like a steamroller, and just rolled through all of the chickens. So what she was hearing was all these chickens scream as they were being steamrolled by this dude's trampoline and murdered, basically. And that's where the 1,000 screams came from. But yeah. And then after that hurricane hit here, because there's no services, there's no police stations, there's no fire stations, there's nothing, no hospitals. The very few aid workers that were available went out there and basically got robbed blind by the meth heads, because there's a lot of meth heads there too. And the meth heads, there's one little police station outpost in, where was it? Not in Kau. Might be in Pahoa. Out here in Pahoa. And the meth heads basically overwhelmed the police. The 2 officers were there and took over the police station, held it hostage, and like stole all the weapons and everything. They stole the Red Cross aid cars. They were breaking into houses. My friend Ahia, I landed the day after the hurricane for a friend's wedding, and Ahia picked me up at the airport. She's like, "I don't have any power," so I just came into town. And she'd just gotten power back on because she's to the edge out here in Hawaiian Paradise Park, to the edge of like where the damage was. So she was the first to get power back, and she had security cameras. And she picked up at the airport while we're having lunch, her phone goes wah 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 wah, and we're watching on the phone as these 2 hands go towards her lawnmower, and then the lights turn on to let them know that he's on camera, and the 2 hands just pull back from the lawnmower because they were just robbing everything they possibly could, looting after that hurricane. So yeah, hurricanes can hit here. This was not a major one, thank goodness. But yeah, Iniki was a major one. I mean, Iniki, 200-mile-an-hour winds, Category 5 all the way. If we were to revamp the category systems, probably a Category 6 or 7 at this point. People talk about how like, oh, the chickens all got blown out of their coops everywhere. That might be it, but the chickens just definitely are everywhere. And they're everywhere down here too, but yeah, everybody go on Kauai are chickens because apparently all the chicken coops got blown down and the birds just scattered. And so there's just wild chickens essentially everywhere at this point. So there you go. Yeah. Yeah. So when you say I'm leaving Hawaii, you mean I'm leaving for Hawaii, or you're like getting out of Hawaii? I hear the cats now on the other side of the door yelling to come back in. Go figure. I'll go for a few minutes longer here, and then I'm done for the evening. Oh, you were on Hawaii. Now you're leaving. Okay, I was gone for 1 week on a tropical island. What'd I miss? All problems are fixed, right? No issues for anyone. Good. Yeah, perfect. Good job. Aaron Salentine. They didn't let me buy Finger today on Fidelity. I called and they said sure. You had to call. Yeah, you had to call and order if you wanted any. They won't let you do it on their app. Asked why it's restricted. They told me there's market manipulation going on the stock. In my personal opinion, I think Fidelity is short and they're having problems on the short position. This is great news for longs. Very, very possible. Yeah. KCB family happens to have a 1962 Jag Mark II worth fixing or to get rid of the sled. Decent condition overall, but doesn't run. Was in the garage for years. Mark II's the sedans, right? Yeah, these are the cool sedans. These guys. They're neat. I don't think they're worth that much. Let's see here. So 9,000 to 40,000. High of 68. I guess if it's probably show quality. They're neat, but I don't think they're worth very much. And not running, probably going to be closer to that 9,000 side. I think they're cool looking. Like, you know, it's a debonair looking car. Yeah, it'd be cool. You drive that around. People go, ooh, who's that? They're so dignified. What a gentleman, right? Or gentle lady. They're neat. Maybe it looks like that. Then you're offloading it. Or even worse. I think it's neat. Probably fairly easy to restore. Not too many fancy bits you got to replace on there. You just got to find like lots of little chrome doodads from junkyards and probably get them re-chromed and do that. Worth it. Sheepdog and Cow, you Trump trying to lift Nord Stream sanctions. Shocking. I mean, Ukraine just needs to blow up Nord Stream. It goes through your country, just blow it up already. Like, what are you waiting for? Just boom, done. Then you don't have to worry about it because they're not going to get in there and fix it. They can't. They have to dig a whole new route through like Belarus or something. That'll take years. So just blow it up already. Further productions, I hate to admit it, but I saw a black Tesla with tinted windows and it looked badass. Still not buying one though. Okay. And Stuart, Houston, can you please explain FLRW and also what you see a 2D grid representing gravitational waves? Does it look the same no matter which way you rotate the plane representation? You're talking about the installation at Hanford? All right, that's a lot of differential calculus. One sec. Friedman, Robertson, Walker, and Friedman, Lemaitre combine Einstein's field equations, the metric Friedman equation, which has been developed standard model, modern cosmology, and the further developed lambda CDM model. The metric's consequence of assuming the mass of the universe has a constant density homogeneity and is the same in all directions, isotropy. Assuming isotropy alone is sufficient to reduce possible motions mass. I'm not really sure what they're trying to establish here. Observation of stars show their velocities don't rate of recession. Finding assumptions, cosmic modules. Measure the distance in space. As to define the metric, we can compare the positions 2 points space moving along with their local radial velocity mass. Such points can be thought of as ideal galaxies. Each galaxy can be given a clock, track time, local time. Okay, this is like doing relativity between points of mass inside a homogeneous a homogeneous universe, I guess. Okay, and then you're giving spherical coordinates to those 2 points, and then measuring the gravitational interactions between them. Okay. All right. I am not going to be able to explain this beyond that. So basically, it's I think doing a guesswork as to the consistency of gravitational flux experienced by someone at, say, point Earth, right, for the interactions across the universe. And for the most part, it kind of cancels itself out, except for rare anomalies where very dense objects have interactions. That's what I'm getting from this. I don't remember ever working on this in like my cosmology courses. At least not these equations. But that's what it looks like, what they're trying to sort of do. But we can't measure things more than like fluxes in gravitational like fields. I know we talked about the what's the name? Hanford linear gravitational wave detector. LIGO, that's it. The laser interferometer. That's this guy. Yeah, there's one in Louisiana and there's one here. So this is the one in Hanford. This guy here, and then can I go to the next picture? Allow me to do that. There we go. And this is the one in Louisiana. Basically, you have a 3 mile long tube going 2 directions at exactly a 90-degree angle from each other. You fire off a single laser. Pew! It hits a 50% mirror at a 45-degree angle, so that half of the light passes through straight down the tube. Right? Goes straight down the tube. Goes straight down that tube right there. And half the light gets split off and goes down this tube for 3 miles. And it's been tuned so that it's exactly the same distance on both sides. They hit mirrors and reflect back. If they're in phase, as they should be, because under ideal conditions, the distances between where the laser hits, where those things hit and bounce back should be exactly the same time. They hit, they cancel each other out, and the detector gets no reading from those lasers back here at home. If there's gravitational waves, the theory was the waves come down. Goddamn cat, he's yelling at me again. Hey, asshole, coming in or not? Yeah, coming in now? All right, shut up. Jeez, my knees. You come in here, he's gonna yell to go outside again. All right. So if a gravitational wave comes down, it will change the space-time continuum for where we are. Meaning, this 3 mile long tube here and this 3 mile long tube here will, over that huge distance of 3 miles, ever so slightly for the briefest moment, one will be longer than the other. One may contract, one may go longer, but their lengths will be different. And so they built this thing. It took almost 30 years for them to actually tune it and get it, just because you're dealing with a laser having to shoot perfectly down a 3 mile long tube, going with the curve of the Earth over those 3 miles as well, mind you, right? Hitting a point and then coming back. And it has to be exactly the same for both directions, no mistakes. And you not only do this at this location here in Hanford, but you got to do it at this location in Louisiana as well. Perfect, right? So if they shoot those lasers down and a gravitational wave comes in and they hit those mirrors and they come back and they're no longer in phase, then they won't cancel each other out and they'll both hit the detectors, one at the end of this tube and one at the end of that tube. and they go, oh my God, a gravitational wave hit, right? And utilizing the fact that there's two of these systems that can measure this now, the one here in Washington and the one in Louisiana, you can actually infer from what direction, because they will hit at different times. You got little clocks in each one. They'll hit at different times for here and in Louisiana. You can infer which direction they came from and point telescopes at it. And so in 2000, I want to say like 15 may have been the first time it went live. And the first thing it found was gravitational waves came down. Like, what is going on? It was two neutron stars that were part of the same system that got caught into an ever tightening orbit around each other, and they collided. And so we saw the gravitational waves come off that spiralness as they were like, going from outside and inside and getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And so those gravitational waves hit us and changed the length of those tubes. When, oh my God, let's find that thing. And they pointed a telescope at it, and they caught it just in time as those two things combined into an incredible, very rare supernova. And they measured all sorts of heavy metals being created off of it, from gold to uranium and all sorts of stuff coming off of that explosion. It was pretty phenomenal. And since then, we've just a couple years later, they measured two supermassive, like 50 solar mass black holes colliding and doing something similar in a different galaxy. That's how powerful those gravitational waves are, that these things were from a different galaxy entirely, and we still measured the waves. So yeah, it's pretty neat. But for the most part, the homogeneous universe means no matter where you look, there's basically the same number of stars and everything throughout universe. And that if you have gravitational waves being formed by these things, they're all just canceling each other out over time because they're all basically the same wavelength, the same power, and we aren't really going to notice it very much. But when you have two supermassive objects that are abnormalities, say that word, compared to the homogeneous universe, that's when this wave detector will be able to sense it. So I don't really know if I quite got to what you want to talk about that, but there you go. KCDB, did you hear about Kanye West and South Park being 100% right? Yes, it turns out that Kanye does, in fact, like fish sticks. I don't know if you saw, he wrote a song called Cousin, and it's about how he and his cousin found porn mags in his mom's closet. I guess they found his dad's Playboys, which are kind of tame, but they found some porn mags in his mom's closet that were not tame. And then he and his male cousin, from like age 5 until 14, basically sucked each other off after that. So, yeah, Kanye's got some damage in there. You could not torture that information out of me if that was me. I'll take that to my grave. Kanye West, not so much. He's like, I'm a Nazi and I sucked my cousin off for years. So you can kind of see perhaps that he's dealing with some issues and not dealing with them well nor appropriately, and instead wants to blame the Jews for it or something. I'm not quite sure, but so yeah, interesting. Gay fish. Okay, I'm gonna do one more question and then I'm leaving for the evening. Ignomon, would you like a Clippy to remind you to sell 55 minutes in the market open? Oh, I need it. The problem is I'm like, oh, I'm doing really well. Maybe I'll do better in a few minutes. And then all of a sudden it's like, I'm like, fuck, God damn it. So I just need slow and steady wins the race. I know it. The problem is that the juices get flown. I'm like, if I hold on a little longer, I diamond hands this thing and then it just slaps me around. I know that the graph goes bonk, bonk, or it goes wonk, wonk. And I just need the perseverance, the self-control to just be done at like 7:30 a.m. and then go about my day. And then maybe at 12:55 p.m., which is West Coast time right before close, I then set myself up for the next day if need be. It seems like really obvious there's going to be an up or down the next day. But yeah, I'm really good at making my graph look like an A. It's like, I start with this, oh boy, I'm here, and then I end right back where I started. I'm like, that was a lot of hours staring at a screen to accomplish nothing. I do that more days than I should. Shane E, don't forget the bit where old Muskie was an illegal alien staying on student visa while dropped out. Yes, that was the other part, is that PayPal bought his company, realized he was here illegally, and then the board at PayPal went to Penn and gave them a bunch of money and said, can you just give him a degree? Because if you give him a degree, we can keep him on an H-1B visa because he'll be an expert, right? And Penn was like, fine, here's a degree. And it just says basically bachelor's degree. There's like not a major on it. So he never technically graduated. They just sort of bought him a degree. Like, yeah, okay, here's one. Thank you for the donation, PayPal. And then they switched his visa to an H-1B visa after that, and that allowed him to get citizenship. But yeah. Anywho, I'll see you guys on Friday. If I do a show tomorrow, I'll probably be late night, but I don't think I'm going to get to it. But anyway, I'll see you guys Friday. No show tomorrow, most likely. And enjoy yourselves. Have a great day. I hope things are calmed down and we don't go to war with nuclear powers or whatever. That'd suck. But guess what? It's dark outside.